Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Before we get into this video, I need you to hit the like button and I need you to hit the subscribe button. I think this video will be worthy of both. Now, it's a bit contrived. I've got to lay down some pathways so you can get some context and a little bit of history. But essentially, a contact, someone I've been in contact with for a little while now, has given me some information that will blow everything open. Everything will come out into the wild. Now, for obvious reasons, I can't tell you everything. And the reason is that this relates to Craig Murray. Now, we'll have a quick look at who Craig Murray is in a minute. This man was sentenced to 8 months in prison for revealing something on a website. He subsequently took it down. But before it was taken down, it was therefore in the public domain. Now, I've got here what was in the public domain, what has subsequently been taken down. And in it, he names names. Now, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to do that because it would be contempt of court. I am going to show you a couple of related pieces and let you make up your own mind. But this man, he has a hell of a set of bona fides. He's not just some bloke off the internet. He is someone, we're talking about Craig Murray here, not my contact, Craig Murray. He is someone whose his history is entirely checkable and who has been previously highly regarded, but who has done 4 months of an 8-month sentence for contempt for releasing information which is then subsequently taken down. Like I said, I'm not going to release that information. I'm not stupid. I'm going to show you what I have got. I'm not going to show all of it. Again, I'm going to show you a part of it. I'm going to show you the part of it, I think, which you'll undoubtedly fix in your mind your opinion on this matter. And it's something that needs to come out, and of course they keep trying to not let this out. They don't want this revealed because otherwise you end up with certain people not looking very favourable. And it does go to show, I think, that the justice system in Scotland is entirely now corrupted beyond repair, and that they're willing to jail people for telling the truth because the truth is awkward for the executive, and so the justice system has to protect the executive rather than protecting the people for whom it is supposed to act. It's acting entirely in the benefit of the executive, and that's why I feel so strongly about this. Now, like I say, I've had to change names, I've had to cover up things, I've had to remove things because I cannot have names out there. But we will go through it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go a quick thing and show you Craig Murray's website. Then he lodged an appeal, and we're not going through the appeal. The appeal's very long. He lodged an appeal. We're going to have a quick look at the appeal. Very, very minor. Like I say, it's very long. We're just going to do a few piecemeal bits in there. And then that shows that who he is, what he's done, and the fact that he's tried to appeal it. And I will tell you now, because it's not a point of mystery, he failed the appeal. The appeal failed for some variously strange reasons, which I'll discuss. And then I will show you the thing that got him into trouble in the first place, but I can't show you it all for obvious reasons. But it is interesting, to say the least. So let's go down and have a look and go through these three things. So we'll take a look. There's some of them in particular. I'll just go, boo. Here goes. Right, so this is Craig Murray's website. Now, everything on here, you can stop and look at things. It doesn't matter because this is his live actual website. Nothing on here that is contemptuous. And there's Craig himself. Now, he has written books. He's written for newspapers. He does a lot of his stuff. He does through his website, and of course he sits there and he does. He's proper. He's bona fide, and he talks about things. Now in this, and I'm not gonna do the whole thing. It's quite a long sort of piece, but I just to read that first paragraph. Really, I went to jail in order to expose the fact that Alex Salmond was being framed on false charges orchestrated within the Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon's office and testified to by perjury committed by individuals very close to her who made fake claims of molestation. They were seen right through by a largely female jury, but the details of the defence case were reported by nobody but me, and I was jailed for it. The mainstream media, led by the BBC, conducted in unison a campaign to portray Salmond as guilty and the verdict as perverse by presenting to the public only the prosecution case. He said, my reports of the actual evidence were removed from the internet by the courts. So he'd actually put his stuff up and said, here's the full story. And the court said, you cannot say that. You cannot show the defence of Alex Salmond. And they forced him to take it down. And that's where you are. So you've actually got now, I believe, the Scottish courts, looks like the Scottish courts are acting purely in the interests of the executive and not in the interests of the truth or of the people. And he's subsequently a friend of Alex Salmond. At the time he wasn't, he's subsequently become. And he's saying, and that's where it is. So that's fine. Everything here is fine. I can say that. And if you want, I will. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to this down in a pinned comment underneath. Go and read it. This website itself is and of itself interesting, so read that. Now we're going to have a look here, and again I'm not going through the whole damn thing because it is like 1,000 pages. It's not. It's something like, it's 32 pages it is, and I don't want to be wasting my life going through it. But this is the opinion of the Appeals Court by Lord Carloway, Lord Justice General, against Craig Murray. And it's all to do with this case. And again, what I'll do is I will pin this down in the pinned comments as well. I'll put the link down in the pinned comments as well and go through this. Now, this in itself is very interesting. And when you see and read through why he lost the appeal, this will blow your mind. And so you definitely need to read the appeal as well. But of course, we've got that history, and we've got, and he's explaining what the sort of the circumstances, the context are. And here's the appeal that unfortunately he lost, but it is what it is. So we need to look to see what caused it. Now, I've been through what I'm about to show you, and it is this. And this was what he put out originally. Now, we can go through this. I'm not going through all of it because, again, it is many, many pages long. It's 20 odd pages long. It's something like 12,000 words. It's just, it's far too long. It'd be a half hour, 40-minute video, and nobody wants that. But we will go through this. Updated, in addition to the substantial and very careful redactions made before publication, I have now made 6 more specific redactions at the request of the Crown Office, which is very agitated. I do not think this prevents the publication of these affidavits from still being useful. Now, this was the one that got taken down. This is the one that put him in prison. And so I have changed names. I have obliterated names. He said, I swore on oath 2 affidavits for my trial for contempt of court and adopted them as my evidence today. I didn't get to actually give the evidence orally, he said, as almost the entire trial was done on paper, although my QC specifically made a point of saying I was happy to take the stand for cross-examination by the Crown or questions by the judges. But this was not taken up. He says, when you go through the process, you realise that this giving of evidence on oath is quite a solemn thing, so I'm simply going to give you the text of my evidence for now without any comment, but redacted to prevent jigsaw identification of court-protected identities. So, affidavit number one. There's many points. I'm only going to go through a few of them. So, first of all, this happened on the 25th day of August 2020, and it's his name and his address and whatever. Now, it's saying who he is. So, retired diplomat, a historian, journalist, rector of Dundee, blah, 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 books that he's written. He was ambassador to Uzbekistan and so forth. So, we're just going through his bona fides. And like I say, what I'll do is I'll hold that there, and I'll hold it, and I'll hold it. And if you want to slow and stop and pause and read these, you can. And so you can see that he's someone who, you know, is genuinely someone of standing, someone of real standing. And particularly at number 5, if you read there, he's for all the honours he's won, and he's got the list of honours, he's turned down 3 honours from the British state, the OBE, the LVO and the CVO, on the grounds of Scottish nationalism. He believes as a Scottish nationalist he shouldn't take Crown awards. And I respect him for that. I respect him for that because he's standing on his principles, and that's fine. I mean, you may disagree with his view on independence, but you can at least admire his principles. He's someone who's not a hypocrite about it. Anyway, he says, as a journalist, number 6, and there's only going to be a few, but we must get these in. As a journalist in new media, my output has been focused on my own website, which is nowadays my primary source of income. My articles have, however, been published in newspapers, including The Guardian, The Independent, Daily Mail, Mail on Sunday, and very many others, both nationally and internationally. I have been shown paragraph 11 of the Lord Advocate's written submissions, which suggest that I publish material not in the public domain because the stated purpose of my blog is to use insider knowledge of government to interpret contemporary events. What I said is not a reference to acquiring material from inside the Scottish Government and publishing it. It is a reference to using my experience at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office to provide authoritative commentary on and interpretation of contemporary events, whether in Scotland, the United Kingdom, or the wider world. In August of 2018, I read the salacious account published by the Daily Record of an alleged sexual assault by Alex Salmond on a civil servant in Bute House. Aspects of the story appeared to me highly unlikely, and in particular, the willingness of the civil servant to simply obey his instruction of going to the bedroom and lying on the bed. On August 26, 2018, I therefore published an article on my blog expressing this opinion. Link to blog. I'm not going to link these because they've subsequently they're dead links now because of the court order. It said I made no attempt to discover the identity of the civil servant involved, but I did make strenuous efforts to discover who had leaked the story to the media, calling and meeting a wide range of contacts in Edinburgh and Glasgow. To my surprise, I discovered with a high degree of certainty that the leaker was, and we're just going to call this one Miss Barclay. It's not a real name, it's just Miss Barclay, who is an important person, because I don't want to give the job title, to another random person who we'll call Ms. Fish. It says, I had discovered she had a personal history with the journalist concerned and did not link it, in my mind, to anything wider than that. Because obviously people in power will always know journalists, and that is fine. In January 2019, he said, I published an article following Mr. Salmond's resounding victory in his judicial review case against the Scottish Government. My article focused on the abuses of civil service procedure in the pursuit of Alex Salmond by civil servant number 1 and civil servant number 2. Again, no names. And I called for both of them to be sacked. The article concluded that if Miss Fish failed to act against them, it might indicate that she was herself involved in the campaign of false allegations against Alex Salmond. As a result of this article, Alex Salmond, with whom I had only very slight prior acquaintance, invited me to meet him at the George Hotel in Edinburgh, and here for the first time he told me that Miss Fish had been behind the process designed to generate false accusations against him. He said, as well as civil servant number 1 and civil servant number 2, Miss Barclay was responsible for the actual orchestration. Mr. Salmond further said that the Scottish Government had made every effort to withhold vital evidence from Lord Pentland, who'd ordered a process of commission and evidence on the available documentation. And it was on the day that witnesses from Miss Fish's private office were due to give evidence as to her own knowledge and involvement that the Scottish Government suddenly conceded the case rather than having this evidence heard. So they basically pulled the case rather than let the truth come out. Mr. Salmond further told me there was a massive police operation underway to try and get accusers to come forward against him. This was going to ludicrous lengths. He showed me an email from one woman to him in which she stated that she'd been called in and interviewed by the police because many years ago Alex Salmond had been said by another person to have been seen kissing her on the cheeks in a theatre foyer. The woman stated she had told them this was a perfectly normal greeting. She was to warn Alex of the police fishing expedition against him. It's understood that over 400 people had been interviewed by the police. He said those interviewed by the police had included all the personal protection officers he had as First Minister. They had all said they had seen him do nothing wrong, and they were watching him very closely, as that was their job. At least one of these policemen, now retired, had been given a rundown of the evidence by the policeman sent to interview him. The retired officer challenged the interviewer as to how he could be involved in such a corrupt stitch-up. He stated that the fact it was a stitch-up was evidenced by the fact that all the accusations emanated from the same small coterie. There was not a single accusation from an outside or independent source. The observation stayed with me as I followed and investigated the case over the next year, and it remains a key fact. I was strongly inclined to believe Alex Salmond. I am much of the same generation of the Scottish political class, and it is a small country. We tend to know each other and of each other. I have never, in 40 years, heard a hint of gossip surrounding Alex Salmond and his sexual behaviour. I have never, with the single exception of a rumoured romantic attachment redacted with redacted. And so basically it was one moment in time with one person. But that had not involved any rumour of unwanted advances by Miss Salmond. Quite the opposite. It was widely believed in nationalist circles that she had set her cap at him. The common joke was that redacted was a booby prize. It's been impossible to follow the judicial review case without concluding that a very unfair process had been undertaken against Alex Salmond, and that it was impossible, this could not have happened, without the knowledge and approval of Miss Fish. This was a shocking realisation to an independent supporter like myself, but what Alex Salmond was now telling me went further, which was that Miss Fish was involved in the orchestration of fake complaints against him. This was fairly astonishing on first hearing. I asked what the motive could be, and Alex replied he did not know. Perhaps it lay in King Lear. He said he had genuinely intended to quit politics and had lined up a position as chairman of Johnson Press, which had fallen because of these allegations. But he'd retired from the party leadership before and then come back, and perhaps Miss Fish had concluded he needed a stake through the heart. He'd made it plain to her that he was not happy with her lack of progress towards an independence referendum following the Brexit vote. Alex Salmond was plainly very unhappy. He said he believed that Miss Fish was banking on his loyalty to the SNP and to the independence movement, thinking that he would not split the party by revealing who or what was behind the allegations behind him. And at this crucial time, a split could derail the chance for independence and have a truly historical effect. I asked him directly whether this meant he did not want me to publish the information at the moment, and he confirmed I should not publish. This conversation was in confidence, but as my blog is highly influential within the independence movement, he thought it vital that I knew the truth as matters develop. Now, I'm going to go back to the appeal. Right, so I do recommend you read the whole of the appeal. It's fascinating. The appeal itself is fascinating. So do go to the link, hit that and read it. But I will say here that this is just a little part of it. And basically, he's done it as a skit from Yes Minister. Permanent Secretary to the Minister says, so the Permanent Secretary says, the identities of the accusers can be kept hidden by the court under penalty of severe jail sentences for anyone who reveals them. And it says, the accusers could just be my closest political cronies and the public will never be aware of it. That's brilliant, Permanent Secretary. And it appears that that is exactly what has happened. I'm coming up. Now, you are free to make of that what you will. I offer no comment. Names were changed to protect the guilty. I think it's clear that it is a complete and utter stitch-up by parties unknown. Whoever it is obviously someone in government, someone who had access and who knew how to harm Alex Salmond. But who this is, of course, will always remain a mystery. Why they did it will always remain a mystery. But it is what it is. Now, that's the great thing about changing names and covering it up and not having any kind of jigsawing of ID. So you don't know. Nobody knows who it is. I say, whoever you may think it is, that's up for you to think who it is. I cannot possibly comment. I hope it's been of use. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the like. Definitely hit the subscribe. Thank you. Bye.